Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen. This week we are doing another movie review. This is the 1977 Italian horror classic, Suspiria. Directed by Dario Argento, with the screenplay by Dario Argento, along with Daria Nicolodi, who you might remember also starred in several of Dario Argento's films like Deep Red and Tenebrae. Suspiria is definitely Dario Argento's most well-known film, most celebrated, most beloved, and many consider this to be his masterpiece. And I certainly agree with that. From an artistic standpoint, I definitely feel this is his best work. The visuals in this film are just stunning to look at. It's like a painting. It's like a work of art. The vibrant color scheme, the bright blues, the bright yellows, the bright reds, just fantastic. And the camera work is just unbelievable. And this release by Synapse Films is absolutely amazing, by the way. Just look at that cover art. That's amazing. And even the work on the Blu-rays there is awesome. And this film is just absolutely loaded with special features. Just a magnificent release. If you guys haven't gotten this yet, I highly recommend you do. Because this release puts Synapse, I think, right there with Scream Factory and Arrow Video. And that's the kind of respect this film deserves, and this is a beautiful 4K restoration. A lot of work was put into this, and it's just awesome. I love it. The film stars Jessica Harper in the role of Susie Banyan, this young dancer who decides she wants to go to this prestigious German dance academy by the name of Freiburg. It's just like world famous, And, she wants to make it big as a dancer. She wants to be a star, But, of course, things go awry along the way, This is a Dario Argento movie, by the way. The film also stars Stefania Casini as Sarah, her good friend that she meets at the academy. Alida Valli as Miss Tanner, the dancing instructor, and Joan Bennett in the role of Madame Blank, who's like the co-headmistress of the school, and she does a great job as well. She's very classy, very elegant, and she runs the school basically, while Miss Tanner is the head instructor, and she's definitely like, the stereotypical like bitch. She's definitely like the mean teacher, It's very much kind of like stereotypical. So the film, like I said, the visuals are just out of this world, and definitely the best that Dario Argento has done in his career, in my opinion. And certainly this film also brings the brutality. It's right there with Deep Red and Tenebrae and Opera, as far as the vicious, the brutal murders, And I'd say this film has the most awesome murder scene in all of his films. And that is the opening kill with the girl that Susie meets when she first gets to the academy. And when she first gets to to Germany, and she gets off the plane, right away you feel that aura of weirdness and there's something creepy going on, and you hear that music, that classic music by Goblin, which has that weird like, those weird voices in the background. I think this is Goblin's best work yet as well, because it really sets the atmosphere of dread, it sets the tone. When Susie first gets to the academy, it's this big, huge, like, mansion. She sees this girl, like, running out the door, and like she's all flustered and freaked out, and she just runs off into the woods, into the dark night. It's like midnight out, and it's raining, you know. But yeah, once that girl, she goes to stay with one of her friends nearby, but not far enough, I would say, you know, because somebody knows that this girl knows too much about what's going on with the academy, because there's something weird going on with this academy. So someone comes to visit her in the night, and you hear that goblin music going on, and she goes to the window to see what's out there, because there's something out there. You can see someone's watching. And then when she puts the light up to the window to try and see who's out there, and there is someone out there, you see from the darkness, you see these bright, like, yellow eyes come out of the darkness, and then all of a sudden you see these beastly arms, like these big hairy arms, grab her by the head and smash her head through the window, because it wouldn't be a Dario Argento kill scene without glass breaking somewhere. And this film's no exception. And then when the girl backs off because she's like stunned, you see the arm with this knife in its hand and stabs her right in the gut, you know, and continues to stab the girl viciously over and over. And there's even this close-up scene of the girl's heart and the knife going right through the heart. It's so brutal and relentless. And as the girl's like freaking out, screaming in agony, screaming in pain, the knife continues to plunge into her stomach and into her chest, into her heart, and the glass underneath her shatters, and it turns out she's laying on top of a glass ceiling, and the killer wraps a rope around her arms and around her neck, and you know something bad's going to happen with that. So as the glass continues to shatter, her friend steps out and to see what's going on, and looks up, and she's impaled by the shards of glass, goes right through her face, you know. And she's also impaled by a piece of the ceiling that comes down and impales, goes right through her heart and stuff, you know. And of course the girl, you see her fall down, and it's hanging from the ceiling, and you see the blood just pouring down her legs as the camera slowly scrolls down and scrolls down and scrolls down, and then you see that the other girl, the friend, is lying there impaled, and you know, with the shards of glass through her. I mean, you don't know she's dead until the camera goes down. You're like, oh shit, one of her friends died too. Yeah, definitely one of the most visually brutal murder scenes that I've ever seen, really. And also the most beautifully shot of murder scenes. So the scene is both beautiful and brutal at the same time. And that's weird to say, but it's true. It's very true. And there's several brutal, grisly murder scenes in this film, which is typical of Dario Argento, you know. So this film is no exception when it comes to the brutality, the murders, you know. It's definitely got that giallo style as well. But I'd say this is more on the supernatural side of things that this film delves into. It's more about the visuals and the psychedelic nature of the visuals and the music as well than any of his other films. So yeah, great performance by Jessica Harper in the role of Susie Bannion. I really enjoy her, and all the cast is very, very good. You know, Miss Tanner is great, like I said, as the stereotypical mean teacher, you know. She forces them to work when they're tired, and Susie Bannion at one point becomes sick, you know, and she doesn't care. She's just like, no, I want to see what you got. Show me what you got, you know, and forces her to dance when she's sick and ill. She doesn't care. And the reason that Susie is sick is because she's like kind of searching around the mansion to see what's going on. You know, she's she gets a weird feeling going on from this academy. And some of the other girls that she meets, the other dancers that she becomes friends with, especially this one girl, Sarah, that she becomes like best friends with her. And Sarah is very freaked out by this school as well. She knows that there's something going on underneath the surface, that something's not quite right with the academy, something's not quite right with the instructor and Madame Blanc. There's something sinister going on. And when Sarah starts to try and investigate as well, she starts hearing these weird noises, and there's this great scene when, like, maggots fall onto Susie Banyon's, like, arm, and, like, what the hell? Maggots? And then like, she looks up at the ceiling, and there's hundreds of maggots all over the ceiling. It's like, oh, I hate maggots. Ugh. Ugh. It's nasty. And they find out that it's just, like, old food sitting up in the attic. Like, what the hell? Why would there be this old boxes of food on top of the ceiling? But yeah, it's things start getting really weird, and then, like I said, Sarah starts trying to tell her a little bit about it, and a little bit about the weird history of the dance academy. And it turns out that the original founder of the school, by the name of Helena Marcos, was branded a witch back in her time, and was very much into the occult. Because when the academy first started, they studied the occult at the school as well, you know. And yeah, many people said she was a witch and practiced witchcraft. So we see that there's a dark history surrounding the academy. And once Sarah starts trying to sneak around the mansion and try and find out a little more details about it, she ends up running into the murderer. And we have no idea who the murderer is. We just see the hand of the murderer, and the murderer is carrying a straight razor, and is chasing after her in the middle of the night. Of course, nobody else hears what's going on. But the mansion is so huge, and yet it's such a great opportunity for Dario Argento to use that crazy, wild camera work, you know. So the girl runs into this room and hides into this room and locks the door, but we see the razor going through the door and trying to get the lock up. And as it's a very thrilling scene, the suspense is great. And the girl sees that there's a small little window open, so she tries to put this stuff up by the window so she can climb up to get into the window, and she finally does, and she jumps down from the window and finds out there's a bunch of barbed wire at the bottom. So she's like swimming in barbed wire. Why that barbed wire is there, I don't know. And this is not a prison, it's a dance academy. But at any rate, it's so brutal. Like, she's trapped in the barbed wire trying to fight for her life, you know, and she's swimming around in it. But once she gets to the other side where there's another window, there's the murderer already and slashes her throat, you know. Brutal. Man. And there's also this blind piano player that plays piano while they're doing the dancing, you know, and studying the dance and doing their routines. And this blind guy, this piano player, has a dog with him, like a service dog. And the dog ends up biting this little kid, and you know, and the instructor, Miss Tanner, freaks out and just kicks the guy out of the academy. And the dude freaks out, "You bitch!" So he goes off into the night, and then the dog starts hearing these noises and weird stuff going on in the background. And it's cool, whenever you hear the weird music and the weird noises, there's like this bright light that comes out, and you know, when that bright light comes out, there's bad news on the other side, you know. That's when the murders happen. That's when the killer's around, you know. You can see that someone's watching, by the way the camera work is, someone's watching them from afar. And then and whatever there is out there stirs the dog up, and the dog freaks out and bites the dude right in the neck and rips his throat out, and you can see the dog ripping the flesh right off of him, you know. That's nasty. So yeah, this movie does not skimp on the blood and the gore and the brutality at all. This is classic Dario Argento, like you've seen in Deep Red and Tenebrae and Opera and all his films, you know. And even going back to earlier films like The Bird with the crystal plumage and all that. But yeah, I feel that this is Dario Argento's masterpiece. I feel like this is an absolute horror classic. And of course the film, the way it ends, we find out what's going on, you know, and of course it ties to what I was telling you about with the history of the Academy. I won't give away the ending because I want you guys, everyone, to see it, because if you haven't seen this film by now, you absolutely have to. I highly recommend Suspiria. I give it 2 devil horns up. Definitely do whatever you can to buy this particular Blu-ray as well. But, you know, if you can find it on DVD, definitely get it. But if you're going to get any release of this film, definitely get the Synapse 2-disc Blu-ray edition, the 4K restoration. It's absolutely fantastic. And thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared.